Hello everyone, this is Untitled Chapter 2 and welcome to another mod overview, this time on OmegaCraft, a mod that is primarily focused around tech, so machines, long distance power transferring, wireless transferring of items, fluids and power, a modular crafting system, as well as a multitude of different generators, a force field system, and tons of different upgrades you can change the machines to operate with. To start with, you'll need the following ores: copper, tin, lead, silver, aluminium, and magmite. Magmite is usually in that at the sort of lower levels and requiring diamond or higher, whilst the rest will pretty much require things from like stone at least for the first two, iron for at least the rest, stone or iron at least for aluminium, and they'd be sort of expected heights of like iron or gold in terms of why level to find them underground. From there, obviously, you want a machine workbench, which you make with just iron and crafting table and glass, and you can just put certain components in here, like a capacitor, as well as a module for which machine you want, and the tier as to which IO controller you want, and then you can make a machine simply from that. Otherwise, you can add things like redstone dust or redstone control. You can add a multi-slot upgrade to allow it to perform multiple different tasks at once, as well as allow splitting of jobs. You can use plates to add reinforcement or blast resistance, for example. Otherwise, there's motors for efficiency or sort of a speed type possibility besides the actual upgrades there. And then there's a Lordcraft certain support, which I'm not really going to go into in this video. Otherwise though, from there you have certain things like item transportation and other things that I'll cover briefly. We'll move to each machine and generator before covering that. So the following machines, as well as what you can see on the side for each tier, with the basic, advanced, ultimate, I'm pretty sure, and dark variations. You've got the crusher, which obviously breaks down certain items from things like ores, to certain other bits and pieces, like ingots, gravel, sand, glowstone, and other small things like wool or blaze rods. Furnace is pretty much what you'd expect as a furnace. The alloy furnace has it where obviously you can make alloys and combining two metals into another. This is good for obviously bronze, steel, magmite, which you use with steel, as well as the magmite you get from the ore there, as well as cave magmite, which is your sort of later tier stuff used for the ultimate tier, a fuel cell for the magmite reactor, and other things like dust, again, or plates, besides an ingot. The plate former obviously makes plates, as well as has a possibility to other bits and pieces eventually, but primarily it only makes plates. We have the compactor, which is used for compacting things, so from sand to sandstone, to things like ice, snow, glass, and wood, and diamonds. You can also use an upgrade to make ingots into blocks if you wish, but I'll cover that later. The combiner is a way to sort of do things in the way where you'd have an alloy furnace, except with 3 different ingots. So this is sort of like higher tier alloys in a way. You've got ferrous magmite for powered soil, as you can see there. Auric magmite, which I don't know the purpose of too much yet. Cuprous magmite and stannous magmite, which is used for fuel cells in a magmite reactor. You've got the Hydrator, which is used for putting water into certain items. So you sort of infuse it with water. You can obviously get dyes from glass or clay, wool, other bits and pieces like getting a mossy variation. So you can get moss stone, you can get a water bucket, you can get obsidian with this, slime balls, and otherwise. And then each one obviously has it where with each tier you have more upgrades you can put into. So this will change from obviously not just the ability to put these main upgrades in, which is obviously speed, energy, and secondary output, but you can also put in things like an internal void and other sort of machine focused or specific upgrades, from ones that do any, like voiding excess secondary output, to certain things like with the furnace, for example, processing food only and not processing ores and other things you can smelt. And then you've got access to more things as you go, and then it'll be more with the dark variations, having a lot more efficiency and other bits and pieces, besides just having more slots and otherwise. Obviously, I've just got the base variations here. I don't have it where they have higher capacity, for example. So if I just switch this out, it's 32. Switch that out, it's 96. You sort of get the idea. Otherwise though, we'll get 2 generators before moving on to power, transportation, and a bunch of other bits and pieces. So each generator obviously provides a fair amount of choices for outputting power. Each generator varies from combustion, so coal, wood, saplings, otherwise. Catalytic, which is things like redstone, glowstone, sugar, and I think blaze powder, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure this was detailed in the cave thing back in the day, but it isn't anymore. Hungry, which is obviously food, so I could put things like potatoes in here, or cooked variations, or even the poisonous one. Any different outputs, and then lava. It's like so, where it uses the whole bucket and then outputs it over time. You've got a little timer to indicate how long it'll be before each one. You can obviously, with an ESD, which is your storage device, have it where you can configure multiple sides, like so. By default, it'll have only the bottom one configured, so you'd have to configure the rest. And Redstone Control changes from disabled, high, and low, which means you don't need to use a cave wrench to actually change the sides or certain other bits and pieces. You'll mostly only be using it for connecting between item, fluid, or power connectors. Otherwise though, we'll try and get to that real quick before moving on to the end of the video and part 2. The connecting or transmitting, receiving type blocks have it where there's obviously item, fluid, and power. What you want to do obviously is have a receptor on one side and then a transmitter on the other, and you'll have a connector in between for longer distance. So if these can't reach 12 blocks and you want to have it where it still keeps going for another, then you can. I just put a stack of cobble in there to transmit it, and I've obviously linked it with the receptor first, then the connector, then the transmitter. You don't actually have to use the connector, but you can, like I said, for longer distances. The same will apply to power. If I have a generator outputting, I could. If I had something like, for example, a fluid tank, I've already got this set up so it'll keep fluid into that. In part 2, I'll have it where I cover the long wave distance power as well as the force fields, the magmite reactor, and upgrades. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.